Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our township meeting, July 22nd. In attendance, we have Supervisor Albert, Supervisor Friedman, Supervisor Erler, Supervisor Ekman, and I'm Supervisor Birmingham, so we do have a quorum for tonight's meeting. Agendas are up here on the podium if anybody needs a copy of tonight's agenda. Have the supervisors seen the agenda for tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make an amendment that we include executive session after public comment. We usually have executive session on, but it wasn't on this time, so.
Okay, so we'll put executive session under Roman numeral number 4. Anything else from the supervisors? Anything else from the supervisors? Okay, can we get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I'll open it up for public comment. You have 3 minutes for public comment. Our township manager, Nick Graziano, will be keeping time.
Official clock.
And Nick, you'll have to whistle when the time is up. With that being said, does anybody want to make a public comment? And if anybody wants to make a public comment, you come up to the podium, give us your name, address, and the floor is yours. Tara, come on up.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tara Mezzanotte. I was recently at the meetings that Congressman Cartwright was holding for...
Tara, I'm sorry, just for our viewers at home.
Hello. Yes.
Can you just give us your title, your relationship, how you're acting on behalf of Upper Mount Bethel?
Yes. So I'll start over.
I stopped the clock.
Thank you. Tara Mezzanotte. I am your township's liaison to PennDOT and NJDOT for 611 and I-80 matters. And I'm here tonight wearing that hat to provide a less than 3-minute update. So as you probably saw, the press release that went out from Congressman Cartwright, that 611 is going to hopefully be opening 8 to 10 weeks after they get the special use permit to put up fences, road level fences. They're not touching the slope. They're going to put up fences and a barrier and have 2 lanes open. I think that still means a light at one point, but it's not like a 3-minute light. It's down to like primarily 2 lanes open, and it's a wonderful thing. So that comes out to like say September, end of September if everything goes well. So I thank you for allowing me really the privilege of being there representing you guys. As your liaison, I enjoyed sharing with the audience, which is quite a lot of people not from our area, about the fact that Slateford is between Delaware Water Gap and Portland, and the only way to get to Portland from Delaware Water Gap is to go through Upper Mount Bethel. So I was really happy to see Slateford mentioned in the press release. So it is good news. Certainly, there's a time for people to do an autopsy on why it took so long to get to a decision that could have been made 2 years ago. But that's not what I'm about. You know, what the reason I'm here and the reason you guys said yes to me being there for you, I do believe is the forward thinking, let's just find solutions and do what we can and not do harm. One thing I did learn, and the reason I wanted to get involved in these meetings, specifically after April, was I was concerned I did not see recognition for the role the federally recognized tribes have in this process that I know about because I've been working with them since 2019 related to the Jersey Project. I saw that and I have decided, my opinion is, Federal Highway did
30
not do their
seconds.
part. Thank you. Federal Highway did not do their part. This is not a PennDOT thing. This is not National Park Service's responsibility. Federal Highways, in my opinion, did not do their part to bring the tribes in as early as they should have. And I think that's why we got where we got. Next month, if it's okay with you, I'd like to do a presentation, 10 minutes, and explain about what's happening next in 2025.
Yeah, that'd be great. Cindy, if you could put her on the agenda, please.
And there'll be a resolution that comes with that, and the presentation will explain it all.
And you're going to give us a copy of the resolution that we can tailor and
Yep.
make Upper Mount Bethel. Great.
Yep.
And Tara, thank you for all your hard work with this. Tara is unbelievable in her persistence, her strength, and her tenacity. So how about a round of applause for Tara for everything she's done? Yeah, no, you really do a heck of a job, Tara, so thank you.
Thank you for that.
Anyone else? Public comment? Wow, everybody's quiet. All right, Ron, come on up.
Ron Angle, $52 million highway, Pennsylvania, USA. I'm kind of curious to know about how many lawyers the township has. I know you have Mr. Karasak, who is very knowledgeable and does a wonderful job, and his rates are more than fair. At the recent zoning hearing board meeting, there was 2 solicitors, or special counsel, or alternate solicitors, or you use various terms as to who these people are. I believe they were from Gross McGinley. So my first question would be is, who authorized 2 attorneys from Gross McGinley to come to the zoning hearing board?
Not us. Adrian is the hired gun. He may have brought one, but Nick, you'll have to keep an eye on it, that we're not charged for 2 attorneys because Adrian is the one who was hired.
Okay.
Well, no, wait a minute. So far at these zoning hearing board meetings, there's been different people from Gross McGinley who came. The original guy came, but then he doesn't always come. The latest meeting, there was 2 people. My question was very simple. Who authorized the 2 people to run up the bill here on the taxpayers?
No, it's Adrian. The firm is hired. Adrian is the attorney in charge. Adrian was out on vacation, and when he cannot attend, he sends an attorney.
So he sends 2 other ones.
I have to see his bill.
Yeah.
But thanks for pointing that out, Ron.
I'm sure you're glad I pointed it out. But again, you have these attorneys on the payroll, and in some cases, they're actually operating against the township, not for the township. In other words, you have attorneys who are operating against your own zoning hearing board and sitting there at those meetings. I'm not so sure how that works. I've checked with a number of friends of mine who are solicitors in other municipalities, and they've never heard of, quite frankly, hired guns from another law firm at a zoning hearing board meeting which has their own solicitor. Could you explain to me why that is?
You'll have to ask Adrian.
So Adrian pretty much running the township, I guess, huh?
No.
Well, certainly would look that way to me. But anyway, I just wanted to point out, and I could go on and on about these attorneys and who decides who should come and not come. So I got a copy here of the bills. And
30 seconds.
I understand.
Doing my job.
Yeah, I understand. But again, they were answering my questions. So my final one is, and I'll get back at the end of this maybe, okay? While you were spending our tax money on lawyers fighting the township itself, this money could have been spent on getting a grocery store in here, a police department, maybe an ambulance. There's ash trees along the roads that could be cut down. There's a whole bunch of different
3
things.
minutes.
But you seem to be spending our tax money on lawyers. And the bills, quite frankly, are astronomical, and they don't even break down what it's for.
Thank you, Ron. Next.
Michael, on your frac, Summerfield Drive, up in Mount Bethel. It is not, I don't believe the town suing the zoning hearing board. It is me and 2 other people who hired Doug Blazy to stop the zoning board from giving RPL the right to put a drip irrigation field on the farm that somebody sold to RPL and made $3-point-something million. So I think you have it wrong when you say the town is suing themselves. No, they're not. They're representing the town's interest. I am suing the zoning hearing board to not give RPL permission to put that drip field there. Did I use my 3 minutes?
No, you still have 2.5 minutes.
2 more minutes?
2, yeah.
Should I sing?
If you prefer, use your time as you want.
I don't know the words, so I'll have to hum. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. No, Ron. No, save it for the next public comment. Anybody else for public comment?
Sharon Duffield, 554 Potomac. I think I might be able to lend some assistance in the question at hand. According to my notes, recorded appearance at the zoning hearing board was Kaplan Stewart, by Mark B. Kaplan Esquire, Elliot Greenleaf, by Doug Blazy Esquire, and Gross McGinley LLP, by Jason A. Ulrich. There were 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment. Marty.
Marty Penner, Lindsay Lane, Mount Bethel. Just like to know who on the board has actually taken a look at the H1 results on the financials. You can show me by a raise of hands.
I didn't hear you.
So nobody's looked at the financials at the H1 results. So none of you know that we're a little over $500,000 behind on taxes. We're another close to $700,000 behind on garbage, which doesn't include the 10 years prior at about another $250,000. So we're about $1 million behind on collections for garbage fees. So now we are the bank that is basically flipping the bill, okay? The numbers here are astonishing, and as all of the lawsuits are flying around, I'm sure those numbers are not going to be cheap. And the amount budgeted for law this year is going to be inefficient to be covering those. So I'd like to know where in the budget all of that money is going to come from. Because I surely hope it's not going to be for the trucks that you sell, especially the old ones that were procured through liquid funds or liquid fuel funds. It is highly illegal and will be caught on audit if those monies are not returned for the old trucks back to liquid fuels. That will be caught in an audit, and then you guys will get more than your hand slapped. So I want to make sure that doesn't happen. But I don't see how you guys are going to be covering all of these bills, especially year-on-year collections that have not been really collected. So, I mean, I'm more than happy to listen to where you guys think you're going to get the money. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Public comment. Okay, moving on. Roman numeral 4 is executive session. It is 7:17 p.m. We're going to break for executive session. Mike, if you want to come up and sing for us while we're in executive session, please do. All right, we're going into executive session.
What is executive session for?
Executive session is dealing with legal matters. Thank you. Check, 1, 2. All right. We'll call this meeting back into order at 7:55 PM. We went back into executive session, discussed some legal matters that are attorney-client privileged, and we're taking no action coming out of executive session. It's attorney-client privilege, Ron. Thank you. Section 5 now. Both. Yeah, that's transparency for you, Ron. How about that? Roman numeral number 5 is the Embassy Bank CDs. Nick?
Yes, Mr. Chair. You guys will have this in your packet. This is about the CDs that we have for Embassy Bank. They are going to mature on August 12th, so we need to make a decision if we want to move them forward. Up to 12 months, they will give us 5% on both accounts. One is the fire account and one is a capital account for us.
One is what? I'm sorry?
One is the fire account, the fire truck money from the COVID money for Mount Bethel. And I spoke with Scott from Mount Bethel, and they don't have a deal, so they said up to a year is fine with them. So they're not going to need that money. And the other money is our money. It's a capital fund, fund for whatever use. Extra money sitting in the account. It's $155,000. We could do up to a year for 5%. I've looked online and researched, and it looks like the feds are probably going to hold until probably December. They're going to start lowering the interest rate. So they're projecting for 4% CDs next year. So if we go up to a year, I think we're covered. It's both accounts. The funding isn't needed right now. So, but that's my recommendation. It's up to you guys what you want to do.
Any questions from the supervisors?
So it goes down in a year? It goes down next year?
I can't hear you, Corey.
It goes down next year?
The projection. It's projected the feds will start lowering the interests towards the end of the fourth quarter, December. And projections for next year is probably like 4.5% CDs. So if we go out a year from now, we should be in good shape with 5%. That's the standard rate that's out there right now.
Like this, I'd be in the service.
Yeah, I need a vote from the board that to approve. We just need it on the record that I can get the go-ahead to the bank to roll them over into a 1 year or 6 month, whatever you guys want to do. It could be 3, 6, 8, 12, but it's 5%.
I think so, too.
It's up to you.
And then that being said, I'd make a motion, we roll these over for a 6-month term.
Okay, do we have a second? Any other discussion?
It's for 6 months?
Yeah. Any question, Cora?
No.
Yeah, Marty.
Marty Penner, 39 Lindsay Lane. I'm trying to remember how much it was for the COVID for Mount Bethel.
I think it was...
Was that $500,000?
No, it was more than, it was like 700.
700,000.
I think it's 361,000 that
was
we gave to
split
North
between
Bank, and
two.
you split
Okay.
it.
I couldn't remember what it was.
Mount
split.
Bethel is,
So,
go
why
ahead,
don't,
Marty.
my thought process for the board then is in terms of this, if Mount Bethel doesn't need it within a year, let me rewind just a second. The interest rate, is that fixed?
Yes.
So why don't we get it as a 2-year fixed? or a 3-year fixed for the long-term funds, the 150,000 in regards to that next year, because that's your depreciation money for anything moving forward, for replacement of the trucks or anything else. So every year we should be, you can do it backwards. You could put a 5-year CD on the first year, 4-year, 3-year, 2-year, and be able to compound that interest, at least do that. At any of the banks, since it's a municipality, and in case of an emergency, you'll be able to get out of that if we negotiate a no penalty clause on that coming out. Let's make the most we can from the money that we got that we know we're not going to be spending in the near future, and put that into that. So I'm just thinking of that and putting it up to the board, is that's the way we should be looking at our cash, using our cash to make money for ourselves. So I would go back, Nick, and at least if I was still a treasurer here, those were the questions I'd be asking you, is if we can do that, you know, and really even split it up into smaller accounts, because we're talking it's over 300,000. So, so our FDIC is at 250. So do 2 accounts or 3 accounts with that and just keep adding to it.
That's what, I think split it up and maybe ladder it.
I would split them up, David, and I
Yeah,
would
split
do
it up and perhaps ladder them then, you know, 3, 12, 18,
and I would do it at longer time periods.
6, 12, 18.
Take advantage of the high interest rates while we still have them, because they could or could not raise. But at 5.25%, or even negotiate a little bit more for that for a fixed term, that's your best option to do that. The banks are looking for money,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah, I think it's a
All right,
good
then,
point.
that being said, I'll withdraw my motion for the 6
Yeah,
months.
she only gave, I'm sorry.
And we can instruct Mr. Graziano to inform the bank if these can be split up and laddered.
So you want to split them up, and you want it, especially the 360,000, you want to split it, different maturity rates. I could find out and get back to you. Just, you know, that I'm sure there's a 30-day, because I think it matures on the 12th. And that's the day of our board meeting, next board meeting.
It's the day of what meeting?
The board meeting, if we have to vote again
Yeah.
for the approval, so the maturity date is the date of our board meeting.
Let's just find out if we can
All right,
divvy them up and ladder them.
okay. I'll find out.
Okay,
That's
thanks,
my
Nick.
motion.
Excellent.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Charlie.
Charles Cole, 6 Riverton Road. Nick, I think you're going to find that there's this bell-shaped curve that you go beyond 12 months and they're not going to give you that 5 or 5.25. Long-term, what I've seen, it goes down because they recognize interest is probably going to go down.
That's true, I've looked into that.
That's what we'll look into. If we have to go with shorter months, then we go with shorter months.
Yeah. The 5% was guaranteed up to 12 months. After that, it went down. But I could, if you guys want to split it up, like what Maureen was saying.
Yeah,
we could
give it a
Split
shot.
it up and extend it out. Because I don't know when the fire department's going to ever want that.
Yeah, if we
that
don't
money.
need the money, why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my motion.
Well, you withdrew your motion, right?
Drew the motion for the 6 months.
Yeah.
I made a motion that we have Mr. Graziano check into smaller allocations that's laddered different months.
Okay. Do we have a second for Supervisor Friedman's motion?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, Roman numeral 6, new business text amendment conditional use. Supervisor Friedman.
Yes, Mr. Chair. After conferring with I'd like to table this because I'd like to confer with both our solicitor and the engineer as to what we can actually do with conditional use with the text amendment as it is. So maybe I can talk to them by the next meeting. I can have a better idea of what we can do with the conditional use as it pertains to the text amendment.
Okay, so Cindy, if you could put that on for the 12th? Thank you.
Oh, we got a table, you got to vote on tabling it.
What's that?
You got to vote on table.
Did you make a
I
motion?
made a motion to table
All
the
right,
text amendment.
Do we have a second for the motion to table? Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. 4-1. Motion carries. Next up, truck staging, Supervisor Friedman.
Yes, when I attended the PSAS session, I attended a seminar on trucking, and they had brought up a point that, PennDOT expects 3,700 trucks at full build-out. We have no place to stage these trucks. I believe River Point Drive has 17 slots allocated for trucks. The Mount Bethel Firehouse already has no trucks, signs up to keep trucks from going in their parking lots. And I have found out that Forks Township has a staging ordinance. So I might want to give this to our solicitor for review and see what he has to say about it. And perhaps we can get this enacted, because if we have 3,700 trucks running around this township and no place to put them, there's going to be hell to pay. So, like I said, I'll give this to our solicitor to look at, and maybe I'll give it to the engineer to look at and see what they have to say.
And Cindy, if we can put that on for the 12th, that would be wonderful. Thank you. Anything else, David?
No, that's it for the truck staging. I think that's something we definitely have to look into.
Okay. Next up is Powerhouse Property Update. That's you
Yeah,
again.
Yes, I attended the IDA meeting, and one of the members had asked RPL for a monthly report on how things are going down at the Powerhouse property. And I think we should either, we can ask Mr. Manzi, who is our representative, and also the chair of the IDA, if we can have a copy of that report, and perhaps invite him in, if he would be willing, to give us an update on the property itself. What's been going on, is there a timeline, have they applied for funding and everything else. And it's also come to my attention that at the auxiliary power unit down there, that small one by the railroad tracks, there's a 4 million gallon fuel oil tank. It has a foam system that is now out of action because the powerhouse closed down and the water source for that foam was coming from the powerhouse. In the event of a fire, that system needs 2,000 gallons a minute for 2 hours. I don't know if that tank has an external hookup or not. I think that's something we have to check into. We may have to have Tina, our zoning officer, look into it. If I'm not mistaken, I still believe the power company owns that unit down there. Like I said, I believe Mount Bethel's truck has a 1750 gallon per minute. Is Mr. Jimmy, what's the GPM for Portland's? 1,500. So it's going to take 2 trucks hooked up just to supply the water for that foam system if that tank ever catches fire. So I think we should contact both the power company and Tina to see if there's any zoning issues and what the power company has to say about that tank. Pardon? The fuel oil tank? Yeah. I think that's empty. I don't know, but we should find out.
It's been empty for years, since it's been empty now. The other was gas powered.
I'm talking about the one that's gas powered is both fuel oil and gas. Now, the tank that sits right next to that, the tank that supplies that auxiliary unit, I believe there's still fuel in there. But we can contact the power company and see what they have to say about it. And that's all I have on that for now, Mr. Chair.
So are you going to follow up with that?
I'll follow up. I'll contact Tina, and now I'll have to find out who the contact is for the power company.
Okay. Okay, thanks, David. Next up are term limits. And I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, something that I've thought about for a while, dating back a couple of years, is whether, and Ron, I don't even know if we can do this, so I'll need your advisement on this, but if the supervisors were in agreement, current term limits for a supervisor are 6 years. Talking to residents out there, many feel 6 years might be too long a term for a supervisor. So my thought is, and of course all the supervisors would have to discuss it as well, is whether we shorten the term of a supervisor, whether it be down to 3 years or 4 years or what have you. But that's my question, whether it can even be done or whether it has to be, it's according to township code.
Yeah, I believe that the second-class township code establishes the terms at 6 years, so I'm not sure if they can be changed, but I can always check it out and report back to the board at the next meeting, etc.
Yeah, and I know, David, you had talked to PSATs. They had said that it's by state law, it's township code. I just wanted to see if you agreed with them or what your thoughts were.
Well, they said home rule. Home rule, if you have home rule, you can designate the supervisors, but other than that.
Yeah, and that's something else to think about. Basically home rule is where we locally govern ourselves, except where it's forbidden by state law. And then we would be governed by our home rule charter, and that's where we could state term limits. That's also, I know some municipalities use home rule where if the supervisors make a decision that the majority of residents disagree with, by a certain vote, and I don't know if it's 2/3 or what it's at, but by a certain vote, the residents could overrule the supervisors if the supervisors took an action that a majority or a supermajority of the residents disagreed with. I think home rule is a great thing because it's really having the people locally set the way they want to be governed. But in terms of term limits, Ron.
Yeah, I'm looking here at the second-class township code, and it's saying that the electors of each township shall elect one supervisor to serve for a term of 6 years from the first Monday of January after the election, and it goes on to other things about a supervisor may not hold other appointed matters in the township, and they have to have resided in the township for at least 1 year, etc. So this is a bare bones black letter law book. I would really need to go double check the case book that has annotations that deal with various cases that have come down under these matters. So I will double check that, but my feeling is that might not be the way to go if in fact, or that we can't do that if in fact it's set by state statute.
Okay. So it's something to think about whether we want to go the home rule way, and just looking into it, if we ever did adopt home rule, it just means the residents first have to vote to adopt a study commission and elect its members. The commission then evaluates the existing government structure, and then it determines whether home rule is warranted, and if it is, it drafts a charter. And then residents vote by referendum whether or not to adopt it. So it's something to think about. If you're an opponent or proponent of home rule, let us know. We want to hear from you. So just let us know your thoughts. If you want, something that we could do is hold a town hall and have a town hall discussing home rule and get an expert in who could come and educate us all on home rule, and then we make a decision from there. So I'll take that action going forward, but it is something I wanted to bring up. Yes, Ron? If you can come up to the mic just for our listeners at home.
Having been on the County Commissioners Association of Pennsylvania, Lehigh and Northampton County went home rule, and they've done all this, they've done the charter or whatever. Very few counties ever went that direction. The ones who didn't, like Monroe, you will find function very well. 2 Republicans, 1 Democrat, or vice versa, so both parties are represented. What the home rule government really does in the end, you end up with a manager, call whatever you want, Lamont McClure is the county executive in this case, and a council who can set laws, but basically he runs the county along with his cabinet. You'll find those people in the county level, and I was the past president of that association, they wish they had never went home rule, and those who didn't go were glad they never did. That was my experience with it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we want to hear from you. It's something that's been talked about through the years, but is it something we want to, is there interest in it? You know, let us hear from you. Okay, and Ron, if you could come up, you know, with what your thoughts are on term limits when you get it, you know, at our next meeting or whatever.
I will do that, and I'll do some additional work on home rule townships to see how they may affect the elections and vacancies in office along with term limits, et cetera. So
thanks. Any other supervisors want to chime in on term limits? Any thoughts?
I like to see 4 years, but home rule is a long, arduous process to get it established.
Yeah, David and I may be long gone before home rule gets in, but hey, that's all right. Okay. Moving on, Park and Rec Board. So we've received a resignation from Anthony DeFranco, who resigned from the Park and Rec Board, and I put it on the agenda because we have to either accept or not accept his resignation. Any questions or concerns?
We need a vote. If Mr. DeFranco wants to resign, I make the motion we accept his resignation then.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. DeFranco, for serving on the Park and Rec Board. And last up is National Night Out. National Night Out is where we recognize first responders, police officers, and we were thinking about trying to plan something here for that, but we just have run out of time. So I talked to East Bangor, I talked to Portland. We're not going to be able to do anything this year, but we will plan something in Portland and East Bangor for next year. And Nick, I was just going to ask you, you know, we could try and have like a pizza dinner or something for the state troopers who patrol the area. It doesn't have to be on National Night Out, but they could come down to the township building. Residents could stop by and say thank you, and we could have a steak dinner if we want.
Well, I would get a hold of the barracks and
Yeah.
coordinate through them.
Yeah,
Maybe they don't want to come down and have pizza.
they might not. They won't want their days off, so. But Nick, we'll talk more about that. Okay. Moving on to Roman numeral 7, public comment. 3 minutes. Nick is going to keep time, and he'll let you know when you have 30 seconds, and then when your time is up. So anybody want to make a public comment? Yeah, Marty.
Marty Penner, Lindsay Lane, just a quick question on the Park and Rec Board. How can the board vote on a resignation of a Park and Rec Board when the Park and Rec Board didn't vote on accepting the resignation? I thought it always has to clear that board before it even comes to the table here.
No,
That's my
it was
question.
addressed to us.
But this board, Stavros's board, has to vote on that first, and you were at the last meeting, and so was Corey. There was no voting that took place on that.
Ron, what are your thoughts? I mean, the board appoints the park committee members. I would think the board could accept the resignation.
The board is always the supreme authority, Board of Supervisors is always supreme authority with respect to various decisions. But frankly, I'd have to check the Park and Rec Board rules and bylaws and rules and regs again to be able to answer the question. I simply don't have those things committed to memory.
Okay, if you could look into that, that'd be great, just so we make sure we're doing it the right way.
So then should we wait on Anthony's letter until we find out for sure? And if Parks and Rec has to vote on it first, then move forward?
Corey,
We've already voted on it, so what I would do is let Ron look into it. If we did it wrong, then we can come back and reinstate Mr. DeFranco and then give it to the Park and Rec Committee and let them handle it.
Yeah, I would, my response to that, John, is that even when there's a new member, when there is a void in the board and it needs to be filled, the interviews, just like with EDC and whatnot, would interview them, they would approve a member and then bring that to the board for you guys' approval. So, I mean, it just seems counterintuitive of doing it one way and not the other for that. I'm just looking at the rules and regulations of a properly run, two boards. Stavros's board for Park and Rec, and of course here.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same way with Stavros. When Stavros resigned, he resigned, and then after the fireworks, he came back and said, because the board did not accept my resignation, I don't know if you were talking about the supervisor board or the Park and Rec board, we'd have to go back and look, but so Ron, if you could look into that, that'd be great.
But does the Rec Board plan on enacting this in the near future?
They tried to last meeting.
They tried.
They tried. One of the members refused to vote. So only 3 showed up. I mean, Stavros was there. He can answer for it. But just being in the crowd, there were 3 members of the park board, which would have been, of course, just like on the Board of Supervisors, we have 3. All 3 have to vote yay or nay. It can't be a 2-to-1. And one of the members decided not to vote on anything.
I mean, I don't think it's critical.
So,
because it's,
I mean, the minutes
not
didn't
like
get
spending
passed.
money. It's not
A
like
temporary
using
or
it anyway.
interim
But if you wanna do that
chairperson at
to
that
clean it
time
up, sure you
was
can.
not passed. So no business was done at that meeting. It was just discussion. So,
You would want to make
Thanks.
a motion to amend, which would take precedence.
Okay, anyone else, public
And then your
comment?
motion to amend would table it.
Yes, Ron?
I go back to these bills from Gross McGinley, and it's pretty evident to me, and I'll read just one of them. This was from AKC, that's Gross McGinley. Prepare outline of cross-examination of RPL experts F. Ebert for zoning hearing board. So now is the township have you hired Gross McGinley to represent you against the zoning hearing board? I mean, it certainly appears that way when I read this, and I could go over these. I mean, it's mind-boggling that you could do this or would do this, but you are doing it because the bill shows that's what you're doing. I mean, like I read to you earlier, telephone conversation with D. Freeman, zoning hearing board. Again, why would he be talking to Gross McGinley about the zoning hearing board? And I go back to the one I pointed out to you earlier. I mean, it's pretty evident that Gross McGinley, on your behalf, with 2 lawyers at least, are working against the zoning hearing board and supporting the private counsel of the citizens that they hired. I mean, that's, in football it's called piling on, but here it's called you're spending our tax money fighting your own authority. The way it appears to me. I mean, if you're doing this, it's pretty evident you've already made your decision. Whatever the zoning hearing board decides, you're going to appeal evidently. And you're doing this and you're supporting those, and those citizens have a right to have special counsel. I don't have a problem with that at all. That's American. They have the right to do that. But do you have the right to have Gross McGinley billing us taxpayers to advise them how to run their case and representing you and cross-examining witnesses on the zoning hearing board? I'd appreciate, and I'll keep it that simple this time around, if you could just give me an honest answer to that.
Ron, we don't have to answer your questions, but I'll give you an answer. Gross McKinley is here to defend and represent the supervisors. The supervisors look out for the best interest of the people of Upper Mount Bethel Township. Our job is to look out for the general welfare, safety, and health of the residents, and I'll leave it at that.
Okay, and I'm going to leave it at this. I would ask Mr. Albert and Mr. Erlen, the 2 people on the end, do you agree with this? Do you really? Just nod your head. That's all I ask, and I'll go sit down. Do you agree with what he just said?
If you guys want to answer, you
No, they can
can.
just nod their head. They don't even have to answer. I don't
If
want
you
to get
want to
put on the spot.
answer, you can. You don't have to answer.
Would you answer then? Forget the head. Do you agree with this, that you're paying lawyers to advise people who are appealing what the zoning hearing board might be doing, although they haven't made a decision yet, and that's being done? Do you feel that that's right for the taxpayers?
Where's his 3 minutes?
What?
10 seconds.
It's up to you whether you want to answer or not.
I think he's representing.
Time's up.
It's what?
He's representing. I don't have a problem. No.
You don't have a problem with they coming before the zoning hearing board?
Yes, since the hearing was brought by some of our residents and more than one, I do believe it's in the town's best interest to make sure that they are covered on our behalf.
Wow.
Okay, thank you, Ron.
That is really kind of scary because evidently the cooling.
Mike, go ahead.
I'll be quick. Mike on Euphrac, Summerfield Drive, Mount Bethel. First off, nobody is suing the zoning board. The zoning board made a decision that the drip irrigation field was not an appropriate use of an R1 zoned area. RPL appealed that decision. The citizens are challenging RPL's idea to challenge the ruling of the board. We're actually supporting the zoning board's initial decision that that is not an appropriate use of the field. The attorney for the town is not suing the zoning hearing board. They're representing the thoughts and the feelings of the board and the residents of this town. Nobody is suing the zoning hearing board. So unless you want to say that RPL is, blame Kaplan.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone else? Public comment. Anyone else? Public comment.
Oh, Jesus.
All right, I don't see any other public comment. Let's move on to announcements. Supervisor Erler?
Yes, I'd like to yield some of my time and announcements to perhaps one of the 4 municipal authority members currently here. If they are willing to provide an update to our residents on your activities and standings.
As a representative of the municipal party, I will not answer that question since the lawsuit you guys put against the township, or against the municipal authority. So we had thought we had taken the higher road and dismissed our case against you, but you guys gave us a nice birthday gift, so appreciate it.
And just for the rest of the residents, it has been 132 days since this board voted for the dissolvement of the municipal authority on March 11th. You don't. With $100 per day fee. That's all my announcements.
Thank you, Supervisor Erler. Supervisor Ekman.
I have nothing.
Okay, Supervisor Albert. Supervisor Friedman.
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay, just a couple of announcements here. So Chief Potter and I are working with the municipalities in the region, with Centronia Ambulance Corps, and now we're getting together the EMS data. We're trying to get there's a few municipalities that have yet to submit the data request form, so the chief and Nick and myself are going to get all that data so Centronia can come to a town meeting and give us a proposal of the services they can provide. Fran, I'm still waiting on that meeting with congressional liaison at the United States Postal Service, so I'm sticking on it. I'm sticking with it. This coming Saturday, July 27th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. is the Refuse to be a Victim seminar. It's hosted by Charlie Hentz. It's through the NRA. Just so you know, it's not a firearms class. I attended this seminar a few years back. He gives you some great information. It's valuable stuff, really on how not to become a victim. And it's free. The only thing, if you want the booklet, there's a $5 cost, and that's just to pay for the cost of the booklet. Charlie said he's going to be bringing lunch. Our lunch is going to be served. I have no idea what that lunch is, but Charlie puts on a heck of a seminar. So if you have nothing to do this Saturday from 10 to 1 with a nice lunch break in between, come on down to the township building. It's the Refuse to be a Victim seminar. I will work on scheduling a town hall, and we can look into home rule, and I also want to schedule another town hall to answer any questions that residents have about the development, the RPL development. I think it's time that we kind of have a question and answer session for residents that may not know what's going on, where we're at with the current update, and we can provide the best we know. Also, there's a free electronics recycling day. It's August 18th from 1 to 4 p.m. And I think August 18th is a Sunday. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it's a Sunday. So free electronics recycling day, August 18th, 1 to 4 p.m. at the Mount Bethel Firehouse. All donations, it's free to drop stuff off. We do ask for a donation of any amount. It's going to SLC 6A1 Connect. They treat rare diseases, specifically the SLC 6A1. And I know that for sure because my son JC has that rare disease. And there's about 400 children worldwide who have this rare disease. And this day, the free electronics recycling day, can help all of them and future children who are diagnosed. And then meeting Nick and Lynn and I are meeting with Representative Ann Flood on August 12th, and that's to discuss funding for the Mount Bethel Emergency Shelter. We're still moving forward with that. We're looking to break ground this fall, and that's our goal. But we're going to be meeting with Representative Flood and then Representative Biscola as well, right, Nick?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And I think that is it for me. And I think that is it for tonight's meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn.
And before we adjourn, I'd like to just talk, and no, I'm just kidding. Everybody get home early. It's nice to get out of a town meeting before 10 o'clock at night. So I will second that motion. Anybody want to keep the meeting open a little bit later? Justin, Ron, Cindy, announcements?
All in
Code
favor,
red?
say aye.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night.